Today I'm in the shop. I'm going to be working on the silver '03 Cobra. Ever since it was purchased, the clutch is not fully seemed like it engaged. And I've driven this car, and it takes a long time for the clutch to fully engage. And even then, it feels like it's not all the way engaged. So I'm going to pull the trans out and put a new clutch in there. But first, I want to show you what I think caused the problem. So let's go underneath the car and take a look. All right, so underneath the car, we got our shift fork here and our clutch cable here. And whenever these are adjusted, I like to have a little bit of slack on here. And this seems okay, like this isn't pulled tight. Some people will try to adjust the engagement of the clutch by making this tighter, which is basically putting pressure on the pressure plate and disengaging the clutch disc. I also like to have a little bit of wiggle room on the clutch fork, and this has no wiggle room. It is not moving at all. Either way, I can't move it forward or backward. And when I look at it, there's a bolt that holds the bell housing to the transmission, and this is resting on that bolt. So I'm thinking that is what caused it to burn out the clutch disc over time. And it's only been a few months that this thing's been driven, but it was just enough pressure on there to loosen up the pressure plate and allow that disc to spin a little bit. And when I take this trans out, I'm going to take a look. It could be the pivot ball that's on the other side of this thing, or this thing may not be fully seated. I may need to do some adjustments there. I might need to even grind down the bolts, but I think that might have been the root cause of it. When I put the trans back in with a new clutch, I'm going to make sure that I got some free play on both of these, on the clutch fork itself and on the clutch cable. First thing I like to do when I pull a trans is start from the top, and so I'm going to try and get this shifter off of here. This may have a set screw on it, I'm not sure, but I'm going to try and hold the set screw maybe, if this thing will disconnect here. Oh, there we go. All right, now this little plastic piece should just pop right off of here. And we need to disconnect this electrical connection here. Okay, down inside here there's 4 little 8mm bolts that are holding this little cover on there. Okay, now we got 4 13mm bolts holding the shifter onto the trans. Okay, so even though all the bolts are out, it can be difficult to get these off because they're installed with RTV. So I'm going to go up with the vehicle and then tap it from the bottom to get it to break free, and then I'll be able to take this shifter off of here. All right, so now underneath the car, here's the shifter. I can take the pry bar up and tap it off of there. All right, now I should be able to lift the shifter right up out of here. All right, I'm gonna need to get the exhaust out of here, so I'm gonna spray it down with my old friend PB Blaster here. Just give these guys a little bit to soak, and hopefully it won't be as difficult to loosen them up. Go ahead and take this crossbar out of here since it's right there. While that PB Blaster is doing its thing, I'm gonna work on getting the O2 sensors unplugged. I'm going to start on the hardest side, which is the passenger side. I've gotten this with a 1/2 inch standard socket and some U-joints. You might take the starter out first too, that might help. I think I've gotten it with a box wrench with the starter out of there. Either way, you want to make sure the battery's disconnected because that wire is hot. This battery is disconnected. So I have a mid 15 with a U-joint on there. I'm going to try and get it by hand because I don't want to strip this out. I'm just going to take it easy and see if this is the bottom on the passenger side is the hardest. All right, now I got all the front ones out. I can work on getting the back undone. All right, so I'm going to tackle the starter next, and I'm feeling up here, and it does feel like it has it has all 3 bolts in there. Hopefully it won't be too difficult to get that top one out. I really don't like it when people put that top one back in there because it's difficult to get to, but with a series of extensions, I'm going to try and get up in there and get that thing. Now, before I try and get to that 3rd bolt, I'm going to undo the electrical. This is where you need to make sure that the battery is disconnected, otherwise you can arc this thing and have an issue. This is usually like a 13 and a 10. I don't think I'm going to be able to. I'm going to see if I can get that top one with a ratcheting wrench. I think I've tried this before, it doesn't work. Alright, so I got a couple of really long extensions with a 13 on there. This is how I usually do it. I snake it up in there from the front. I can't remember if I go in between the motor mount. No, I think I go between the engine and the motor mount. Alright, so this is how I ended up getting the top bolt out. And I started with the top bolt of the starter because that is the hardest one to get to. And just checking the sizes to make sure that it was 13 mil. I noticed that the very bottom one was super loose, and so I put a 13 up there, and a 12, a ½ inch is a little bit tighter than a 13, and so I have a 12 on 2 wobbly 10-inch extensions, and I was finally able to get it to break loose. And wouldn't you know it, the tightest one so far is the 3rd one, the hardest one to get to. So that's cool, but I think I got it now. Should have this thing out. Oh, I didn't get it. Damn it. All right, I was able to get it with this setup here. I was able to come in from this back side after trying with the long extension from the front. So I got it finally. Listen, if you're gonna do a starter in one of these things, leave this top bolt out. I've done, I don't know, 100 starters, and I've put them all in with just these 2 that are easy to get to, and there's been no issue. Do us all a favor, do the bolt delete mod on all the starters. And now hopefully the rest of these are pretty easy to get off of. Okay, so that one was torqued to like 150 foot-pounds as well. Barely got it off of there. I don't know who's putting these starters on and torquing these bolts to 1,000 foot-pounds, but they don't need to be 1,000 foot-pounds. Let's see if the easy one to get to is loose. Yeah, that's the only one that's loose. Great. All right, so now we can take the starter out. Thank you to the previous mechanic that put the 3rd bolt in at 1,000 foot-pounds. We salute you. All right, now that the starter's out, before I take the drive shaft out, I'm gonna drain the fluid out of this thing. We don't know when it was changed last, so I'm gonna drain and put some new stuff in there. Also because once this drive shaft comes out, all the fluid will come out. Well, not all of it, but some fluid will come out and make a mess. So I'm just gonna drain it out of the trans. There's a little plug right here. It's 3/8 drive. Once you remove that, the fluid will come out. And now that I got that drained, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this back up. All right, for the rear drive shaft, I have this U-jointed 10 mil specifically for this. I just bought it for that. I don't have a whole set of these. I know it's kind of hard to see with the light, but go ahead and take the end of this drive shaft loose. Alright, once you get one, you just rotate the drive shaft, get all the other ones. If your drive shaft won't rotate, you may have taken the shifter off while it's in gear, or the parking brake might still be on. Alright, so now with all the 4 bolts loose, I should be able to get this drive shaft out of here. Let me see if I can pry the shift fork forward and get the clutch cable through the larger part of the hole. You can usually do this with a pry bar. Just need to push it forward enough just to get that cable up through there. And there's just a little C-clip thing right here holding the cable into the trans. Pop that thing out.
Okay, before I go unbolting the trans, I'm going to get rid of all the electrical, make sure the electrical is off of the transmission itself. And now I'm going to let the back of the trans down a little bit so I can get to the top of the bolts for the transmission to the bell housing. Looks like there's 8 bolts holding the trans to the bell housing. I got a nice long extension. I'm going to start from the hard to get ones first. See if I can't get them by hand. Oh, that's awesome. Alright, I got a little bit longer breaker bar here. It seems like somebody torqued this one to 1,000 foot-pounds as well. That's pretty cool. Always looking out for the next mechanic. And I'm going to work my way around the bell housing. I'm going to leave these bottom ones in there for now until I'm ready to pull the trans out. Now, before I get too crazy, I'm going to support the back of this transmission. I don't want any of these bolts falling out and then or breaking off and then the trans just falling onto the ground. Now I should be able to take the bottom 2 out. And it should stay up there. Alright, so this transmission should weigh about 120 pounds or so. Let's see if I can lift her up out of there. Yeah, it seems like it's sticking a little bit. I'm going to see if I can pry it out just a little bit here. Alright, so for whatever reason this trans isn't separated from the bell housing, so I'm going to put a couple of these bolts in on either side and then work on the bell housing to engine bolts. When I do that, I like to start from the very top. Those top 2 are probably the most difficult to get at. So I'm going to work on those first with a series of extensions. Here's what I got. I got 3 12-inch extensions and a 13 on a U-joint. I'm going to show you how tight the previous mechanic tightened this. I got the other side, which is a little bit harder to get to, but I was able to get to it. But I hope that this side is as tight as the last one, because it was torqued quite a bit. Well, I hope that broke it loose. There's no need that these transmission bolts need to be that tight. I want to say that the torque spec on these is like 30 foot-pounds, something like that. There's no reason. I hope that broke it loose. There's no reason why it should be that tight. Yeah, broke it loose. I'm going to go ahead and work my way around. There's 3 on this side and 2 on that side for the bell. There's also 2 up front on this little access plate. Once I get all these out, I'll get that one loose too. Alright, there's 2 bolts on the front that go through this access plate, or the spacer plate. You can get those off. Alright, that should be it. See, this trans is loose at all. Alright, seems like this trans is not wanting to come out. So sometimes on the there's little dowels that are in these 3 bolt holes. I'm not sure which one it's in, but there's a dowel pin in it, and sometimes those can get rusted. There's one on either side. I'm going to spray these in with some PB Blaster and then see if it'll separate. Oh, Jesus. So sticking on this shift fork, so that was definitely part of the problem. The trans would not come out. The trans wouldn't separate from the bell housing. I thought it was stuck on the dowel pins, but still wasn't doing anything. And then finally I pushed in on the clutch fork and the trans just kind of shot back. So That was weird. I've never seen that happen before. Now this trans should just come right out of there. All right, now that I've almost killed myself with this trans, as soon as I hang it up on this, there's a bracket for the wiring. It's getting jammed up in there. I think I got it now. It should just drop out of there now. Here we go. Let's see. Alright, so it looks like we got a McLeod RXT. I don't think anything was wrong with the clutch. Well, it wasn't the clutch's fault. And it looks like that pivot pin is all the way in there, so there's not much adjustment there. But if you look on this thing, it's got that little counterweight on here, and you can see that the counterweight has been hitting that bolt right there. So I'm definitely going to take that counterweight off of there when I put the trans in again and see if that helps anything. All right, now that I got the trans out of there, next video I'm gonna pull this clutch, kind of take a look at the clutch discs, and have a new McLeod RST over here to go in. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can see the progress on this car and see the difference that the clutch makes.